His girlfriend had a name for it. Not a metaphor, not a description, a name. She called it demon mode. And Walter Isaacson, the man who wrote the definitive biographies of Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, spent 2 years following Elon Musk everywhere, into factories, into private board meetings, into 2 a.m. conversations nobody else was allowed to hear. And what he documented inside that 670-page book is not what any summary is telling you. Not the rockets, not the cars, not the billions. The 3 psychological patterns that explain everything Musk has ever built and everything he has ever destroyed. I read the entire book, I cross-checked every claim, and I am going to show you exactly what Isaacson found and why it matters whether you have ever thought about Elon Musk for a single second of your life. My name is James Austin.
If this channel is new to you, I go inside one book per week that shaped how the world works and pull out what every summary leaves behind. Subscribe What Authors Hide now. Because what I am about to show you in the next 15 minutes is the version of this story nobody is telling. Before we get to the 3 habits, you need one piece of context. Without it, none of what follows makes sense. Isaacson writes that Elon Musk's childhood produced a tough yet vulnerable man-child with an exceedingly high tolerance for risk, a craving for drama, an epic sense of mission, and a maniacal intensity that was callous and at times destructive. That sentence is the entire book in one line. But where did it come from? What actually happened? As a kid in South Africa, Musk was taken to a wilderness survival camp known as Veldskool. It was a paramilitary Lord of the Flies, he recalls. The kids were given small rations of food and water, and were allowed, even encouraged, to fight over them. Bullying was considered a virtue, his brother Kimball told Isaacson. Musk was small, awkward. He had no social instincts that protected him. He got beaten up twice at that camp. He lost 10 pounds, but that was not the wound that lasted. At Bryanston High School, a group of boys pushed Musk down a concrete staircase and kicked him until his face was unrecognizable. He was hospitalized for a week, and when he came home, his father, Errol, sided with the boys who beat him. I had to stand for an hour as he yelled at me and called me an idiot and told me that I was just worthless, Elon recalls. His brother Kimball, who had to watch, says it was the worst memory of his life. Think about what that combination does to a child. Outside, physical violence. Inside, the person who was supposed to protect you telling you that the violence was your fault, that you deserved it, that you were nothing. Isaacson writes that Errol Musk has a Jekyll and Hyde nature, 1 minute friendly, the next launching into what Musk's sister Tosca described as lectures that could last hours, calling you worthless, pathetic, making scarring and evil comments, not allowing you to leave. Musk described his father's tirades as mental torture. Over the years, whenever Musk was in a dark place or felt threatened, it took him back to being bullied on the playground. The richest man on earth, still being chased by a memory from a staircase in South Africa. That is the foundation. Now the 3 habits. Habit 1. What Musk's girlfriend Grimes named demon mode. Most people think Elon Musk is simply demanding, a tough boss with high standards. That is not what Isaacson documented. Isaacson found there is not one Elon Musk. There are about 5 or 6 versions, and they change fast. Sometimes he is in engineering mode, focused like a laser beam, talking in a monotone, solving problems with stunning precision. Sometimes he is giddy, making jokes, yanking people's chains. A charismatic visionary talking about getting humans to other planets. And then there is the other one. Grimes, his on and off partner, the musician, is the one who named it. She told Isaacson that Musk gets triggered when someone says, "That's against the rules," or "We're not going to be able to do what you ask." And you can watch His face becomes almost unmoving and dark. His eyes get angry. He doesn't raise his voice. He starts talking in deep, cold anger. And for maybe an hour, he tells people exactly how bad they are at something. Isaacson witnessed it himself, sitting in a room watching Musk turn dark on a finance employee. "I knew he was going to rip that person apart," Isaacson recalled. "It was almost done in a flat monotone. He would just really attack people, and then a few days later, if they had absorbed the lesson, he'd forget about it, as if he went from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde and then didn't even remember how tough he'd been." Now here is where it gets important, because this is the part every summary skips. Isaacson writes that Musk explained his lack of empathy not as a flaw, but as a strategic position. Musk told him it is a form of egotism to be empathetic to one individual and jeopardize the larger mission. He was not hardwired to have empathy, Isaacson writes. Or, to put it in less technical terms, he could be an asshole. Think of it like a forge. A forge reaches temperatures that would destroy most materials. But that temperature is also what turns raw steel into something that can hold a rocket together. The same heat that makes the product destroys everything nearby. That is demon mode. Not a management style you can learn. A psychological state that produces extraordinary results and extraordinary damage simultaneously. Grimes told Isaacson something important about demon mode, that while it can be unpleasant to be around, it is also the mode that gets things done. In about 4 minutes, I am going to show you the single finding that Isaacson himself called the most psychologically revealing pattern in the entire book. Stay with me. Habit 2. What Isaacson calls the crisis addiction. Most people who study Musk focus on his risk tolerance, his willingness to bet everything, his ability to operate under pressure. That is describing the symptom, not the cause. Isaacson says Musk is addicted to drama and risk, that when things are going smoothly, he feels a compulsion to disrupt the process, and often does. Here is the documented evidence of what that actually looks like. Tesla is days from bankruptcy. SpaceX has just suffered its third consecutive rocket failure. Musk has spent nearly everything from the PayPal sale. Both companies appear to be finished. SpaceX faced failure after failure with its Falcon 1 rocket, suffering 3 consecutive launch failures between 2006 and 2008. As a result, the company's finances suffered, and the pressure to succeed mounted. In 2008, SpaceX finally succeeded with the 4th Falcon 1 launch, just as the company was running out of funds. A NASA contract secured shortly afterward saved SpaceX from bankruptcy. Most rational people, facing that scenario, would try to save one company. Musk put his remaining capital into both, simultaneously, with no guarantee either would survive. This is not a business decision. This is a psychological one, and the crisis addiction did not stop when the money came back. At the beginning of 2022, after a year that saw SpaceX complete 31 successful rocket launches and Tesla sell close to 1 million cars, Musk sat with Isaacson and said something remarkable. "I need to shift my mindset away from being in crisis mode," he said, "which it has been for about 14 years now, or arguably most of my life." Isaacson writes, "It was a wistful comment, not a New Year's resolution." Even as he said it, he was secretly buying up shares of Twitter, the world's ultimate playground. He said he needed to change. Then he went and bought a company with 7,500 employees while already running 5 others. Think of it like a deep-sea diver who has spent so long at pressure that sea level feels like suffocation. Put Musk in a calm environment, and calm becomes the threat. The absence of crisis is the crisis. Isaacson writes that the playground metaphor is deliberate. Over the years, whenever he was in a dark place, his mind went back to being bullied on the playground. Now he had the chance to own the playground. The $44 billion Twitter acquisition, The richest man on earth buying the place where he was once powerless. That is not a business strategy. That is a psychological one. Habit 3. What I am calling the demolition strategy. Most people think Elon Musk is impulsive, that the mass layoffs at Twitter were panic, that firing half the staff in days was reckless chaos. It was not. And this is the most important thing the book reveals. Isaacson documents that Musk has a deep, almost embedded belief that any organization that has existed for more than a few years is already corrupted, already bloated, already optimized for its own survival rather than its original mission. And his solution is always the same. He does not try to reform, he demolishes first. He did it at Tesla during production hell. He did it at SpaceX when he took over manufacturing decisions personally. And he did it at Twitter, now X, the moment the deal closed. According to Isaacson's biography, Musk meticulously changed his plans so he could terminate their employment before their stock options would vest, firing Twitter's top executives the moment the deal closed. Within days, he fired roughly half the company's staff. Experts said the platform would collapse within weeks. It did not collapse. Think of it like a forest fire. To someone watching, it looks like destruction. Everything is burning. But what a controlled burn actually does is clear the undergrowth choking the healthy trees. What grows back after a fire is faster and stronger than what was there before. Musk is not impulsive. Musk is the fire. Isaacson writes that Elon Musk's PTSD from his childhood instilled in him an aversion to contentment. That is not a casual observation. That is the key to the entire book. An aversion to contentment, built from a staircase in South Africa, reinforced by a father who called him worthless, turned into a methodology that built the most valuable car company and the most successful private space program in history. Now, here is the piece that Isaacson arrives at after 670 pages. The conclusion most summaries never reach. Most people look at Musk and see success. A scoreboard, billions of dollars, rockets landing themselves, cars that drive themselves. Isaacson looked at the same man for 2 years and saw something different. The biography describes how Musk's father's abuse caused him to become estranged. Musk's daughter legally changed her name and cut off all contact with him. The people who built Tesla and SpaceX alongside him described working for him as simultaneously the most productive and the most psychologically damaging experience of their professional lives. He told Isaacson he had been in crisis mode for 14 years. He is still in crisis mode. The wound from that staircase. The voice of his father telling him he was worthless. They never healed. They just became Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, and whatever comes next. Isaacson frames Musk's psychology through the lens of Star Wars. Is he the hero or the villain? The answer Isaacson arrives at is that the question is wrong. Musk's demons and his genius are the same force, pointing in the same direction, and you cannot separate one from the other. That is the real story inside this book. And that is the story every 3-minute summary skips. 3 things to take from this. 1. Musk's success is inseparable from his damage. The rockets and the wreckage come from the same place. 2. Demon mode is not a management philosophy. It is a wound that became a methodology. The lesson is not to copy it. The lesson is to understand what drives the people shaping your world. 3. The demolition strategy is real and documented. The question it leaves you with is this: is what you are building optimized for its mission or for its own survival? That question alone is worth the price of the book. If this gave you something you did not expect, subscribe. Every week I go inside one book that shaped how the world works and show you what the summaries leave behind. The button is right there. Takes 2 seconds. And tell me in the comments, was it demon mode, the crisis addiction, or the demolition strategy that hit hardest for you? I read every single one. Next week I am going inside Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, specifically the night Nike was hours from financial death, and what Phil Knight did that no business school teaches. If today's video resonated, that one will hit even harder. See you there.